I promise every show we do will not be about the coronavirus. I'm tired of the coronavirus. I'm not tired of it. I want it to be solved with many issues. But I thought it was the most amazing thing, whenever there's a fear out there, there's going to be a crisis. There are people taking advantage of that fear. And we have some of those scams. I'm going to quickly tell you about them. The government's actually warning people about them. But I'll first tell you a short story. So this past weekend, my husband and I decided to go out of town for the weekend. It was a long drive, and so on the way there, he's driving, and I'm playing with my phone reading news stories. So I flipped on to a very popular website. It's a news aggregator. A lot of people go there. Top story said Rita Wilson, who is Tom Hanks' wife, and you likely know Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson have been in the news. They've acknowledged that they contracted coronavirus. They tested positive for coronavirus. They're in the hospital in Australia. The top story in this popular news aggregator said, Rita Wilson passes on from coronavirus in hospital. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's horrible, and quick reading the story. And then I turned to my husband to tell him, and he's driving, and I can't believe this. And then I refreshed my phone, and the story was gone. It was there momentarily, but someone went to, it was false, to be really clear. Rita Wilson not only is recovering nicely in an Australian hospital, she put out some cool thing today or a couple days ago that was about music. She's saying, well, while you're in forced quarantine, forced isolation, why don't we try to think of some of our favorite songs, our favorite music? And she put a little playlist together and things. She's just interacting with the world while she's quarantined and saying, this is what I came up with. Aren't these fun songs we could be singing? But the point is, someone went to the effort of making up a false story. And I'm going to tell you, this website I was at, this is a very popular, very mainstream, very professional. I mean, you never see, crazy conspiracy stories there. Very substantive website. But they had been duped by someone who made up that story, made up a link, and ran through some basic facts, none of which were true. And, we were talking after we realized the story was gone, and we actually double-checked, and she's alive and fine. What would motivate someone to do that? Why would someone go to the trouble and make up a story about Rita Wilson, with the coronavirus that she passed on? And the answer is there are many, many people out there who want people to be in fear. They want you to feel fearful, to feel panicked. The death of someone who is famous, is well known to the world, who's, out there in public with her acting. The idea of someone like that passing on would A, help spread fear, but B, it helps spread the mindset among people that because this happened and because this validation of how serious coronavirus has happened, that you, the citizen, should just simply submit to anything the government wants to do. We talked about in the show, this topic on the show a couple days ago. There is, in the left-wing world, nothing they like better than finding more and more ways to control the freedom of the people, to be the nanny state, to restrict movement, to control people. I am not saying that every step taken to protect us from the spread of coronavirus is evil and bad. I mean, public have to make decisions. The public sector has to make decisions about public schools and entities like that. But when we get into shutting down private things like restaurants, bars, businesses, we're really crossing a line of giving more power, surrendering more power to the government. And a story like that, had it been true, would be used to clobber people who were trying to say we got to be finding a balance in this business between protecting public health and still holding on to the freedom of the individual in our country. But the other thing, quick scams to tell you about with respect to coronavirus, there was actually a story out of the federal government had a notice talking about, I'm trying to think which federal government agency it was. Anyway, had a notice about scams involving coronavirus where they, for example, put out something saying, do you believe you have it? They'll ask about symptoms, and they'll say, we can supply a test kit, just send us your name, address, phone number, social security number, and pretty soon you're putting in all your personal information on some website put together by some scammer who will very soon be cleaning out your bank accounts. So the government's warning about all sorts of scams, all sorts of fake presentations by people online saying how they've got some homebrew solution or homebrew vaccine. There is just a sad commentary on the state of humanity, but there will be people taking advantage of this coronavirus, taking advantage of your fear, planting fear, encouraging fear. So they have the whole story about the idea of people being lured into giving information. This is my happy warning to my listeners. The government is not asking information online. They're not emailing you. They're not putting websites up saying, hey, send in every bit of information. The government's put about yourself personally. They're putting out information. They're trying to make test kits more available. They're trying to make them available in a broad variety of places. If people believe they have been exposed, there will be test kits available. They're working on vaccines. They're doing a lot of things. They're not out collecting personal data. If someone's doing that, it's because they're trying to scam you. And not only am I telling you, I'm urging you to tell your mother and everybody else, more senior citizens or others who might be easily duped by these kind of scams. No shortage of people to take advantage of a crisis.